Hey guys, it's Ali. Welcome to episode 12 of Let's Talk About Life podcast. Today's episode was about mindfulness and the power of self-reflection and how it has an effect in our daily lives. So take a look, give us a comment below, and let us know.
All right, there's a term that's been thrown around a lot, and a lot of people talk about it a lot. Mindfulness, right? The ability to pause, reflect, and everything like that. So I'd like to hear kind of what is everybody's thought on what mindfulness is, right? And then how it affects you and what are the benefits of it. Now, we're not experts, we're not yogis. We're not from a monastery or anything like that, but I think it'd be good to kind of just chat about it because it's a good topic. It's one I care about too. And Ali, you did bring this up. He's the one that said, hey, we should talk about this. Yeah. And I think it was really good that you brought it up.
Totally. I mean, because it brings you in that we were talking about this last time, being centered.
Right.
And that centered space of being mindful. I would say to simplify things, mindfulness is just observing my actions, man.
Right.
Before I even say anything, I'm observing my thoughts,
right,
and my feelings, and literally at this moment, I'm not so mindful of the future or the past.
Yes.
I'm mindful of you guys in my universe right now.
Right.
And acknowledging that. I think that's simply for me. That's what mindfulness is.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Presence.
Yeah.
Right.
Presence.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think for me, mindfulness is it is understanding where you are in life and observing, just like you said, which is a great word. It is observing.
No.
I think it's observing kind of where you are in life and being aware of the emotions that you're having and not judging it, and kind of being a critic and a supporter at the same time, and just being like, okay, where am I at in life, and not lying to yourself. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like an honest perspective
Yes.
of yourself without judgment.
Correct.
Yes.
Or self-aggrandizing.
Yeah.
Making yourself better than you are. Yeah,
That's
Ali, if
so
you could,
true.
if you could look up the definition of mindfulness, I think that'd be kind of good for us
That
to
would be
see.
cool. That
Just
would be a
see
good
kind of
start.
what happens. This is where we do the whole Joe
I
Rogan.
mean, I love
pull up
that
the laptop.
you're talking about the honest perspective, because what
Yeah.
happens is sometimes, man, you think you give yourself the honest perspective,
100%.
but you're actually not.
Yes.
I feel like sometimes you think you are, but you're a little too soft on yourself sometimes.
That is true.
I mean, I feel
Hard or soft?
hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I think it's
hard.
both.
Yeah.
Yeah, black and white. I don't think.
Because you want to feel sometimes I want to feel comfortable, so I'll give myself that honest perspective that I'm doing pretty good, and it kind of gives you that comfort to stay in a safe space.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Rather than changing and making a change, which
100%, dude.
Which is what I've been doing this whole time, is on that mindfulness place, how uncomfortable I am. And that's a good thing, because the more uncomfortable I am, the more I'm transitioning and making those action steps and changing my actions.
Let's look up the definition.
I'm
real
looking up
quick.
right now. I'm typing it up. Yeah.
Great idea.
I'm just curious. I just want to see
that's
kind of what, see its
What's
point.
the society?
And while you're looking up, I guess I'll say my definition because I'd be cheating.
Yes.
I'm like, what do
Yes.
you think? What do you think? Let's look it up.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's what I thought it was. You know what I mean? Like, there it is. Exactly,
smart.
verbatim. I wrote that.
I'm smart.
Yeah, so I think I agree with you. It's about being present. Like all you said, it's being here, but being aware of your here-ness to a certain extent. Like it's I almost say kind of pulling the labels off of things. You know what I mean? Because just like you said with judgment, or making yourself better than you are, it's just taking off the story of the narrative of the hierarchy of where you stand or where it stands. I say, oh, that's my phone, but I'm like, nah, it's more than that. So I think it's kind of it's almost like when you say the word bubble over and over again, then it just sounds weird. Like bubble, bubble, bubble. You're like, bubble. What is bubble? You know what I mean? It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like when you just take that label off and you're just in the space. You know what I mean? And just like you said, before you speak, you see. And that's a powerful thing. I said too much. But I would say if I could say what mindfulness, it's being aware of your awareness. To a certain extent.
Having that clarity.
Yeah. So what's the definition say?
So the most simplified definition dictionary is the quality or state of being conscious or aware of something.
The quality.
Quality
state.
or state of being conscious or aware of something. And there's a second definition. A mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations used as a therapeutic technique.
That's
Yeah.
pretty good. I like that one.
That is number 2 was
Then-
whoa. That was like a more defined
Right.
approach for real. Calmly acknowledging
Yeah.
and accepting one's feelings.
Without
You see how it says calmly?
Yeah.
That's really interesting
That
because
is-
man, calmly, because you really have to.
Yeah, you gotta let it
meditate
be.
and let it be, and acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations.
Mm.
So like you're feeling it.
My boner.
So is that
Jake's always got like
is that
some
what
random
calmly
statement.
acknowledging is, bro? It's like I am calmly acknowledging my boner.
Right,
I was like,
yeah, there it is. There it is.
I feel it.
I feel it.
It's
I feel it
happening.
tingling. Oh my god.
It's there. It is. Okay, so mindful. To be mindful is to center, right? It's to be present, to be aware of your feelings. I think that I like that because in a lot of meditations they say focus on your breath. Focus on your breath. When you're focusing on your breath, you're not focusing on something else.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so it's the ability to not focus on your story of the future, your story of the past, or the story of who you think you are. So kind of coming back to those taking off the labels and just calmly acknowledging, just letting it be.
Yeah.
Because the being is already happening
Exactly.
with or without our judgment. And if we can get to a space to where we can be with the being versus judge, label,
Yes.
categorize
Yeah.
that being, then we get to be with it. And I remember
Yeah.
I forgot who I was talking to. I was talking with this guy that I met, and he was talking about how he climbed Mount Balding. I think that's the name of it, right? And he was talking about how amazing the feeling was to get to the top, and it was raining and it was dangerous because if lightning strikes you,
Yeah,
you
you're
either
done.
slip and fall off or get electrocuted and slip and fall off. But he was saying when he was at the top, he was just sitting there, and he felt awe. That's the only thing that he could think about. But what was so cool about it was he became a part of the scenery.
Wow.
Rather than just because if you look at it, you're like, that's beautiful. So you, as the eyes, are telling it. But when you're in awe, words aren't there. When you're in awe, you're raptured by this experience.
Exactly.
And when you're raptured by it, you become a part of the scenery.
Correct.
And you're just, you're taking it in
Yeah.
versus giving it names.
Exactly.
And so when he was talking about that, he was talking about just feeling awe. I could resonate with that. And that's a space of mindfulness.
Yes.
Where you're just aware. It's almost like a state of flow too.
It's a state of flow. You're right.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The definition of flow is like without thought. You are so present that there is no time, there is no awareness.
Yes.
But mindfulness is awareness.
It almost sticks though. It's like a perfect piece of you're literally in that flow. You hit it and you're stuck in it and you're in that awareness state. It's almost like a rhythm or melody.
Right.
You lock in. That's how I felt it. It's and then when you're there,
Yeah.
you're literally so in that awe moment.
Right.
You can't say anything because if you say something, it almost takes you out of that awareness.
Yeah. As soon as you start saying, I think I'm mindful.
Yeah, you're eliminated.
You're not. You're definitely not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so here, how do you use mindfulness in your life? That's a question I like to ask.
Jake.
How do you use mindfulness in your life? How do you use self-reflection in your life? We can give it a different name. How do you use any one of these things in your life?
Yeah, so when you're going, I think it's important to use it when you're going through a journey or you're evolving because you have to understand where you're at in the process, and you have to look forward and look back in the same time. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not really familiar with mindfulness.
I freaking love that.
That's
Yeah.
so dope.
That's even
real
better.
talk.
I mean, we're not familiar. We have an idea of what it is
Yeah.
to a certain, and I have my clients go through it. But what we can say is, what are the benefits of pausing? What are the benefits of looking?
Yeah.
What are the benefits of not accepting your first label of a thing? Here's the good, and when you label a thing as mindfulness, it becomes a thing to achieve. There's a word, I don't know if it's the definition, to achieve mindfulness. And I don't think it's a thing that you want to achieve, right? All it is I don't subscribe to mindfulness because I think that as soon as something is repeated too much, it becomes cliche. As soon as it becomes cliche, it becomes a destination. As soon as it becomes a destination, it loses its magic to a certain extent. So what I'm saying is just the ability to self-reflect, the ability to look at yourself. So mindfulness is said, you notice yourself and then you calmly acknowledge. I think that there are many steps to that point that include mindfulness, right? I believe that there's points where you feel anger and you're like, I'm angry, but I'm still going to blow up. I'm not going to regulate. I don't know how to control this.
Yes.
But you notice the anger, that's mindfulness. You've been aware,
Gotcha.
right? And so the goal is, how do you separate the stimulus to reaction to stimulus to response? How do you stop, somebody says something and you react right back, where you say, how do I want to react? Because if you say, how do I want to react, or I feel a certain way, then you're become responsible. You start to notice the space between the stimulus and the action, right?
That's beautiful. I love how you said responsible.
It's
does.
either react or
Yeah.
respond. You know what I mean? And responsible. You know, I could make a play on words with that. That's what I was trying to do. But it's like, I hate when people are like, what do they call it? Recollect? Recollect. I'm like, okay, whatever. Anyways, I just did it, so whatever. But what I think is that the goal in life is to be better at pausing until you're good at it. Then it is to become better at going. And I'm going to try to see if I can explain this. When I have a negative reaction to a thing, when I just react negatively, stimulus is right here, I hit it and I react in a bad way.
Right away.
Right away, immediately. So you say something, I'm like, I go at it, right? My goal is to be able to notice that.
Yeah.
And notice that pattern. If I notice that pattern, I've created space. A little
Gotcha.
bit of space. At first, what happens is I do it, and then I look back to it, and I remember it.
Yes.
Like, oh, okay, I reacted. I don't like that feeling. So you're like retroactively mindful, right?
Yeah.
But then you get to a point where you hit the trigger, and you get to choose what to do. So you create a space of mindfulness. And so there's the stimulus, and then before you react, you create this space.
Yeah.
And this space is awareness.
Yeah.
That's freedom. That's success. And even if you still do the bad thing, you're still successful because you created the space. Mindfulness is like two walls that are pushing close together, and you're pushing back, feet up on one wall, back against the other wall. And you're forcing to create space to where you can choose how to respond versus just react.
Yeah, it's almost like mindfulness is the opposite of being a slave to your emotions.
That
You said it
I think that's
incredibly
that's
well. That
that's
was
exactly
perfectly
it.
said.
100%.
Holy
Yeah,
crap.
absolutely. Let's
That
take a
was-
moment.
Whoa.
That was real, man.
was-
So that's exactly it. You are
Yeah.
a slave to if you are reactionary, then you are a slave. It's just simple as
Slave
that.
to emotions.
Exactly. Even if you're the one who created that reaction, if you don't want it anymore, then it's still controlling you. It is what it is. So the goal first is to become mindful. Hey, I don't like the way I responded. Then I feel this way and I want to respond, and you still respond that way. But at least you chose it, which means you have some modicum of freedom.
Yeah.
Right? Then as time goes by, you feel it and you choose a little better. And then you choose better. And then you choose better, then you fall back down.
Yeah.
And then you come back, and as slowly as time goes by, you start to make better and better and better and better choices. And then once you get to the point where you can quickly become mindful and make the right choice, then you start to lose mindfulness. And I'm
What?
yes, and I think I'm right in what I'm saying. And I explain this with my clients as well, but it's not so much losing mindfulness.
Oh.
You're becoming a reaction to good. So then the mindfulness isn't necessary.
Yeah.
Now it's trigger and reaction to the thing that you want to do.
Yeah.
And that's when you're empowered. So mindfulness is the process to mindfulness. And then once that's done, it becomes habit.
Yeah.
When it's habit, you can use the energy and strength required to push those two walls to separate those two walls to be able to be mindful about something else.
Yeah.
Wow.
If I just can't stand when my sister does A, B, and C, or whatever, let's say just A, that happens, and then I learn to not react. And then I become mindful to bite my tongue. And then I realize that I don't need to bite my tongue. And then I realize that the benefit of it is way better when I bite my tongue than reacting, because I feel better and I can let it go and I acknowledge my emotions. Slowly but surely, I won't be affected by her because I'll naturally know to think the right thing and not say that she's attacking my identity. And then it just becomes habit.
Wow.
But then
Yeah.
there's all of a sudden another thing. Now that I have all that fuel for mindfulness, I can now put it on, I don't want to go to the gym. Let me see why. You know what I mean? Or why I get frustrated at this, or why I get sad when this. And you start to be able to use that limited fuel of mindfulness in other areas of your life till those become habit. And pretty soon, ultimately, the goal is to be a slave to your choices, your good choices. You create space to escape the reaction of negativity. That space is mindfulness. Then you lose that space so that you create the reaction of positivity. No more mindfulness needed. You're already there.
Wow, that's awesome. So
Right.
It kind of goes into autopilot at that
That,
point.
that's
That's it.
Good
because
habits.
most of I forgot what the percentage was, but most of our lives are just
So
habits.
cool. Yeah, it's basically what it is.
Dude, everything, like,
Percentage, I wonder.
how much of my life was just an idea or a conscious choice of something?
Let me see.
How many times have I repeated what I've said before? Like, all of this is mostly habit. We just get volition for just moments in time that kind of course correct us along our path. And so if we can get to a place where we can create all the positive habits, then we can have new mountains to face that require more mindfulness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
That
It's
was
almost
so
like
dope.
it's almost like when you told us a story last time of your dad was grilling you,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
and you
that.
sat there.
Yeah.
You were being mindful.
Yes, I was. I was thinking about this
Right.
right now.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of go through that story real briefly, just so for people who haven't heard it. But you were getting grilled.
Yeah.
Normally you react back,
Mm-hmm.
but you just bit your tongue.
Yeah.
Very difficult to do,
Totally.
Yeah.
but you did it.
I did it. Yes.
What was the mindfulness in it?
I was just like, I was thinking if I reacted,
Yeah.
it would never have caused any benefit to the situation.
Okay.
It would have just escalated. And I didn't want to make it any worse.
Mm.
So I bit my tongue and I was telling myself, he's doing this energy to me, it's for him.
Right.
Whatever thoughts he's going through is for him, it's not for me.
Yeah.
I have my own opinions, my own beliefs, my own values. He's just maybe having a bad day or he's stressed out about something, and I understand that. So let him vent out, and I'm going to hold my tongue. And it was not easy, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Every time he was going, he just kept kind of squeezing it more and saying, da-da-da, da-da-da. I'm like,
Yeah. Now that you went through that, kind of like touching base on
This
what
is
you
funny.
said, next time that happens, it becomes a better muscle.
you want to know what's crazy?
What's up?
He apologized to me like the other day. He was like so nice to me all of a sudden.
Of course.
He starts apologizing to me, being like extra friendly to me, and I'm just like, and I didn't even say a single word.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa,
Mm.
look at that. If I said something,
It,
if I reacted,
you would have been the bad guy.
I would have destroyed everything.
Mm.
Silence
So-
is like a beast.
Right?
Go ahead, keep going.
So
yeah.
just literally, I crushed I think it was a lot of pride, bro. I crushed my pride.
Right.
I bit my tongue and said, shut up, Ali.
Right.
It's enough.
Yeah.
Right.
You talk too much. You're not the king. You're not always right. Shut up and listen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And even if
Even if
you
he's-
were right,
Yes.
and he was wrong.
Yes.
For you to fight to be right was for you to fight his projection that he's projecting upon you, and so you have entered his battlefield, and you become the bad guy.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why silence is so powerful. So what you did was you were mindful, and you bit your tongue.
Yeah.
And this is what's interesting because most people imagine when they say the word mindfulness, they think of this Zen state. No, mindful is any time that you're thinking different than your habitual thinking, right?
Yes.
So anything different is mindfulness because you have to think different to be different, right?
Yeah.
How I can drop somebody in the middle of nowhere or in any city they've never been in before. They become mindful because they don't know what to expect. So they're absorbing more information. But if you've been driving the road the whole time, you can get to your house without even thinking.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? So mindfulness is not this, like, it's not always this thing that's just like, it's just being more aware. So you, level 1, bit your tongue. Okay? Now he felt guilt because you didn't give him more fuel to his fire. And all he looked like was a fire without fuel. Right? So then he had to apologize because he looked like the bad guy. That's why silence is incredible. But let's go back to the biting of the tongue. You biting your tongue is a muscle that you're working out. Right? Now the interesting thing is as you continue to evolve, you'll realize that you don't need to bite your tongue. You'll know the value of silence. And when you know the value of silence, you're not biting your tongue because it's good, or you're not biting your tongue because your ego wants to pop out. If you bite your tongue, that means it's wanting to go off. But if you have understanding, it knows your father's fighting a projection that he has upon you, and you are not that projection. And even if your actions create that projection, you are yourself. And you're not going to tie your identity to it because you know who you are. At that level, your tongue just chills. Because it doesn't have this, like, that's not my battle, bro. You think it's my battle, but you're fighting with a ghost. And that's more mindfulness. You see what I'm saying?
That's so powerful, bro. Because he's right. Because
Yeah.
now, like, I've noticed I'm not talking as much. And I'm not talking about trash. I'm not just saying random stuff anymore. I'm observant of what I'm saying. I don't just feel relevant to the
Right,
conversation.
right.
Like, before I would just talk, just not even care what I'm saying.
Right.
Just say things because I want to say things
Yeah.
to be part of the conversation. What's the point in that?
Yeah.
Silence is the most beautiful thing
Yeah.
because you're there and you're observant of those around you.
Mm-hmm.
And you win more that way with all these battles and
Right.
and you're not, approaching people in that level of like if someone's yelling and screaming at you, you're sitting there quietly looking at them and you're not saying anything. It's like, dude, that's hard.
Yeah.
Like, damn, like it works.
Yeah.
It actually works and it benefits too because it that moment you're holding yourself back, but look at that amount of love
Yeah.
you get from that. Like days after.
Right.
He comes apologizing. I'm like, whoa, I didn't even do anything. Like, dang.
Yeah.
The power of silence, man.
You were reflecting him.
Yeah.
In that, not that you were reflecting him voice to voice, you were so silent that he could see the mirror of himself yelling at you. And all he needed was just a little bit of fuel. If you just made one comment under your breath,
And that's it.
he would have had everything he wanted. You just sniffed. That's what started the conversation, right? You're like, I'm stressed. He's like, what are you stressed about? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that means that all you had to do was just provide one reason.
Yeah.
And you didn't provide that reason. And so all that he could do is just burn. And if there's no oxygen,
Extinguished.
it's going to go out. It's
Yeah.
going to go out. And so that's a huge power for you. But now that you've done it and it was hard, you saw the response, which gives you the strength to do it again next time.
Yeah.
Because you see the value in it. You know it was good. You knew it was good in the beginning. But now you see the goodness of it. So that's more strength,
Yeah.
right? Because you know the outcome's worth it.
Yeah, and I want to tie that into
Yeah.
if you want to like start practicing mindfulness, just do something different than what you would normally do.
Right.
Like what he did. It's collecting data. If you ever want to practice mindfulness, the first thing you should do is don't do the things that you usually do and watch the reaction
Right.
and see if it's a positive reaction or a negative reaction.
Dude.
Internally or externally.
Bro.
Yeah.
Right?
That is so
That's
dope.
real, dude. And I love that you said
Like
collect. You're like
data.
reading my
Yeah.
brain. It is. It's
That's
data
dope.
collection, bro.
Yeah.
You
It's
spitting out
one-
some real stuff, bro.
Appreciate it.
It's absolutely data collection. Like one of the first things I have my clients do when they start the program, whether it's related to their health or not, I have them take a picture of every meal that they eat. And they're just like, okay. And at the end of it, they're just like, I didn't know I ate that much. I didn't know I ate that little. Or, you know what I mean? Like you start to realize patterns about yourself. And it's like, this is you.
Yeah.
If you don't know you, what do you know?
Ugh.
But you speak as though you do know. And you live off of that false knowing.
Oh my god.
Yeah, dude.
That's
Right?
Yeah,
crazy,
and
bro.
that's in order to be mindful. You first have to know who you are, and you have to know the decisions that you're making. So it's almost like you don't collect data first; you just observe.
Which is a form of data collection.
That is true.
You know what I mean?
That is true.
You just notice.
Yeah.
Just notice. And so people are like, once they notice, like, why do I do this so much? It's crazy. I just realized this. How do I change it? That's where they get lost. Because they go, wow, how do I change it? And I'm like, keep your eyes here, bro. Get used to being able to notice yourself. Before you try to figure out how to change it, see how prevalent it is in your life, and see how much of an effect it has. We spend weeks for you seeing how much you don't see. And then when you see how much you don't see, you start to be like, I don't like what I see. And I don't like that I didn't see it. And the effect of this, because once you condense it all and say, these are all the things that you've been thinking, eating, the toxicities that you're putting in your body and your mind. When they see that, then they have the impetus, the motivation to kill it. Before they just wanted to be happier, they wanted to stop procrastinating, they wanted to lose weight. These are all the reasons people come in. They wanted their business to grow. But I'm like, bro, if I spent time building your business with the mind you have right now, where you don't know how to stop and think and see yourself, no, man, I'll be fighting against you the whole way, and you'll be fighting against yourself. Let's clear this out. Let's get you to be mindful. Let's get you to reflect. Let's get you to question your realities. Let's get you to see the things that are actually happening under the hood, and then we start to move forward. And then at that point, I have a power that I could never have given them. I have a power that they would not have given themselves that's helping us push them towards their transformation. So what I do is I bake into the program something that'll make it easier for me to help them grow.
Let me ask you this. To simplify things for the audience, right?
Yeah.
Whoever's listening to this. Like, for someone who is like mindfulness, like, oh, this is the first time I heard of mindfulness in this way. What would be the starting position to get to that habit of being mindful?
Right.
Is it like journaling? Is it meditating? What's the simplest method that someone listening to this is, you know what, I can start doing this right now? Because, you know, we're talking about mindfulness, but we're talking about once mindfulness is attained, like once we're in that state and we're practicing it. But from the very get-go, from the very beginning, how does one work on the discovery and make it into a habit of being constantly observant of what they say, how they say it? Because for me personally, I mean, I've kind of known mindfulness. I've had, you know, these reactionary positions where, like, you know, I get angry about something, I get mad real quick, and then I'm observant of that and I'm aware of it. But for someone who doesn't even know, like, who's been living their life thinking they know themselves, like you mentioned,
Right.
when they start taking the pictures of the food they're eating, they go, oh my God, I eat this much?
Right.
What would you say for someone who doesn't have that opportunity on their own
Okay.
to discover it themselves?
I think it's just whatever works for that particular person. Whatever works for you, do it. So, for example, like if I say, oh, write in a journal, that might work for me, but that might not work for other people. And when we say write in a journal, people have this idea of writing in a journal, and then they immediately just stop. They don't want to do it.
God, that's so true.
Yeah. So what I think is just observe yourself. That's the first step. Don't even do anything. Don't do anything at all. Just look at what you're doing, look at what you're saying, and then pinpoint the ones that you don't like or that you want to improve, and then slowly improve on it. Now, quick question to you as well. Now, what's the process, or what, I don't want to say correct process, but there is a correct process.
The structure, yeah.
So let's just say, for example, if I find something I don't like, it's important for me to not say that I don't like it. Like we were talking about this other time and how I was listening to myself on the podcast and I was like, I don't like that person.
Right.
And you told me, you were like, we shouldn't really look at it that way.
Right.
Because, I don't know I forgot what the because
Right.
was. And that's what I wanted to ask you as well.
Well,
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Just start by
yes.
observing.
No, I love that. Thank
Okay,
you
perfect.
for sharing that.
And then if you have an answer to that as well.
Yeah, well, I think what I'll answer your question, and I'll pop back to yours. You were talking about I don't like that person, but to know that person is laying up this person. right?
Gotcha.
So when I see something I don't like about myself and I get access of that data, I say, I got the data. You see what I'm saying? I don't say, damn that data. That's that, because when you say damn that data is because you think that data is you. You think when you look at yourself in the podcast, you're like, that's me, I don't like him, and then you wear him and you're like, that's me, and I don't like me. But that was you then.
Yeah.
You have feedback now. I don't like that. As soon as you say I don't like that, you separate from being it. And now you get to say, now that I know that I don't like that, I'm already a different person. And therefore the next time I'm on the podcast, I'm going to be different. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what happens is you wear your past and you struggle with it. But you don't understand by seeing it and observing it, you are now separate from it.
Yes.
Because he was unconsciously existing. You're consciously aware of his false existing, the way that you want to, and so you make a shift and a change. So you win. Feedback gives you the win.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's data collection. That goes back to what you're saying, right? How do you start? You track your data. You get as much information. A researcher does that. Like, is it phenomenology? Like, there are different types of research styles where you're like, I have a hypothesis, and I'm going to research it, or I have no hypothesis, and I'm going to discover it through gathering information, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's important to pick one specific area that you're trying to change. I think the muscle of mindfulness is a mechanism. I think the muscle of mindfulness puts you in a place where you become more mindful in other areas. So the first thing is like, take a picture of your foods.
Yeah.
Or track every hour of your day for a week. Put that in a calendar. Every hour, track it.
Yeah.
And see how you spend your time. You know what I mean?
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, all of a
Track
sudden...
every hour of your day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because that's literally what it is. Like, even for, my clients, there's different methods. Even in the work we do with finances, track your dollars. See where your money goes.
Yeah.
You can use mint.com.
Yeah, man.
They'll gather all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's another one called You Need a Budget. I think it's YNAB. Yeah. YNAB.com. You can see, you're like, God, I'm spending so much money on food.
Yeah.
I did that a long time ago, and I was like, dude, I got to switch this up. So I got this app that would automatically siphon money from my account into a savings account. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I don't want to play this game. And I don't have the mindfulness right now to be able to balance it, so I'm just going to make it steal money from me. Right?
It's cool.
So that's one way.
Self-sabotaging.
It's actually self-promoting. It's like what you're sabotaging.
Self-sabotage.
No, it's false self-sabotaging.
False
I'm sabotaging my false self or my total ignorant, knee-jerk reaction self for the other self that I don't care about.
cool.
The one who needs to be patient. and disciplined. So that's one way. Tracking your foods, tracking your hours, tracking your money, tracking whatever. Just start to notice.
Yeah.
When you start to notice, you start to notice. When you're like, oh, dang, I didn't know that. Every time that you get that, you win. You looked at the video and you're like, dang, I don't like that. You win.
Yeah.
Right? When we were talking about stepping to the plate, when I had the epiphany on my own self as I was talking about, our past traumas, and I'm like, oh, I remember when I was a kid, played baseball, and I didn't step in the plate because I got beamed and I stepped out. I'm like, where else in my life am I not stepping into the plate? And so what happens is I win. On that video, I grinned. Why? Because I had data.
Yeah.
Right? As soon as I get the data, I separate from it.
Yeah.
I separate from blindness. And as soon as I step away from it, that means I can now grab it. And that's why it's so good to be objective. That's why it's so good to always want feedback. That's why when you're critical on yourself in a positive way, you become better.
Yeah.
One of my values is excellence. If better is possible, good is not enough.
Yeah.
I love you said the positive feedback process, because a lot of us, we don't do that. We think about positive feedback, but sometimes we beat ourselves up. I mean, I do this all the time.
Yeah.
And it's unconsciously sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
And when something bad happens, you beat the daylights out of you, man. And it's bad. Sometimes you get to the point. I've had points where, that my mom's thing, that little court thing. I had the worst disappointment ever, bro. I went to the court. I walked in. I wasn't prepared. Didn't have the right stuff. Literally, I spent 2 hours there.
Yeah.
For less than 5 minutes of when I went to the judge. Like, oh, you're missing documents, and I'm like,
yeah.
Wow. But you know what's funny though? I was silent. I didn't yell. I didn't shout. I was disappointed, and I was upset. I'll be honest, but I was observant of that.
Well, you definitely weren't going to yell in front of the judge.
Well, I mean,
I think
yell,
you just swallowed it.
Yeah.
It could have been suppression.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And I think that is a part of mindfulness. I think part of the stage of mindfulness, maybe it's in the middle or whatever it is, when you get really good at it, you end up stop beating yourself up. You're just like, okay, cool. That's data. And I'm not going to beat myself up for it. I'm actually going to do something about it.
Yeah.
So, for example, like I'm going through the program earlier, probably 2-3 weeks ago, when I would see something, I'd be like, fuck. And I would just go in a hole for 3 days. Now I see something, it still bothers me, but I'm just like, okay, cool. What can I do now about it?
So being proactive.
Right.
And just being like, and realizing what works for you and doing it. Like for me, for example, writing things down helps me out. And remembering that it's 1% a day helps me out a lot.
Right.
It's part of my mindfulness program, my mindfulness process.
Yeah.
So I just take those, and then I just do it.
Yeah. And the thing is, because you know that it works,
Yes.
you're empowered.
Yes.
That's what's so cool about it. Because the thing is, the only way that you can know it works is if you do it. When you held your tongue, you didn't know if it worked. You just were proud that you did it.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't normal for you.
Yes.
So that's one win. Mm-hmm. But then you have your father apologize. You're like, dag, I wasn't even ready for that. Mm-hmm. And now it's strengthened it. The gravity of that muscle has become so much more powerful. And you may blow up another time, but when you blow up, your retro thought will be pretty powerful. You're like, I do not want to be that.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen, let's say you blow up and then he blows twice as much back, and then you guys don't talk for 4 days. Like all of a sudden you're like, dude, the cost of this is not worth the small win I would have had by releasing my emotion without control. You know?
So crazy how that is.
Yeah, so it's the data collection I think is a great start. Like if I was to say, okay, dumb it down, track yourself for a week. If you can't do a week, do 3 days. If you can't do 3 days, do a day. Just track yourself.
That's the homework for
and
the
just
audience.
notice it. Notice it. Track your food, track your hours, track whatever. Capture it. Because when you see it, you then can look. And that is like that's the first thing. My program starts level 1. Observe. Because if you come to me saying, I want to change this, I want my business to do this, I got to do this, I'm sick of having this, I'm not happy, did everything, but I'm not happy. If I even started to tackle anything that they came to me for, be the dumbest thing in the world, I'm not going to touch that stuff with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
I need you to start being aware of yourself. It's too much work otherwise. I'm not going to drag you up the mountain. You have a rocket on your back that is misfiring. And I'd rather work on the wiring for that, because then I just go click and then I'm like, okay, I gotta go get them. You know what I mean? Like that's really what it is. That's where the power is at. You have the power already within you, but you don't have the mindfulness to achieve it, to find it, to reveal it. Because when you're mindful, you start to see the problems that you have in your life that are false. And then you can erase those stories. When you erase those stories, you believe in yourself. When you believe in yourself, it's like game over.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So that's what I think, I think it's important that people understand that by being aware, and even when you're mad, is an opportunity. When you're happy, it's an opportunity. When you feel completely neutral, like blah, it's an opportunity, because every time you're gathering information on your state. So when I look at that second definition, I think it's a nice endpoint for mindfulness. But I think the moment you stop and think, you're already at mindfulness. You're already on the outskirts of it.
Pause, yeah.
And you should celebrate the hell out of it. Because it's not trying to get to like nirvana. It's just at least smell it, you know what I mean? Just be in the region around it and become more self-aware. It's a huge power. For those of you who hear the word mindfulness and you don't like it, part of me is like, I want to dissect why you don't like it, but I get why. But to get rid of that, think reflection. Think self-reflection. Think awareness. Think noticing. Think observation. Think data collection. Whatever word works for you. This isn't an Eastern, Western thing. This isn't a religion thing. This is just your opportunity to be able to just see yourself. Because if you can see yourself, you can change yourself. But if you just feel yourself, you're done. Because everything is an emotional response. You are constantly responding to your emotions. That is not freedom, that's slavery. Your emotions are incredible guides, but they are not the drive. They are not the engine. They tell you what's right and wrong. They tell you what feels good or not. And they give you the ability to be like, whoa, I feel a lot. Is it you or is it me? How much of it is me before I get mad at you? Okay, I'm mindful to see that I've created this story, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, I thought it was 100% you. It's actually 70% you. Therefore, we're not going to be friends. But thank you for teaching me to work on this 30%. But what if I find out that it's 70% me, 30% you?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's my bad,
Yeah.
right? I'll be honest about the 30% that I don't like, but I'll be honest about the fact that I created or fabricated the 70%. That it allows you to be rational. And ultimately, that's the goal. How do we get you to be rational? Because when you're rational, your emotions work for you. When you're irrational, your emotions destroy you and everyone you're around.
Yeah, dude. And just a couple tips, just on my end. When you're being mindful, you always want to get ego out of it. Like you don't want to think that you're the good guy, and you don't want to think that you're the bad guy either. You kind of just gotta look at the situation the way it is.
You're the guy.
Yeah, you're just the guy.
You're just that
And with just
guy.
as much humility as possible, and in the same time, if you can kind of let it go and just kind of like what you did with your dad, if you can let it go, even though you know it's not your fault, then you're golden.
Right. It's real. It's kind of like, I love this quote. It's not about who's right. It's about what's right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you're okay with somebody thinking they're right,
Oh.
that's power. Because what happens is when somebody thinks they're right, you're like, I don't want them to think they're right.
Yeah.
They need to know they're wrong. Because if they walk away in hope of thinking they're right. And
So crazy out there.
What's the worst case scenario that happens in that?
well, it's just who cares?
Yeah.
I care what's right for me. You know what I mean? And if you walk away thinking you're right, that's your poison. I'll do my best to clarify. I'll do my best. But if you walk away, that means that you're not at the table. If you're not at the table, then you're not meant to be at the table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that keeps me in a space where I stay clear, right? And at the end of the day, everything is my fault. This is a belief that I have. Everything is my fault. And I've had a friend of mine who's like, it's not true. I don't know. Not true. How's everything your fault? What if this happens? And I'm like, bro, I'm not really saying that. But I'm saying if I believe that everything's my fault, then everything's in my power.
Yeah.
But what if it's not true? It's a heuristic. It's a rule of thumb. It's a belief. Because everywhere that it is true, I'll find how I can change it. What about the areas where you don't? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'll hit the wall, and then I'll move. Right? But we're so caught up on the hypotheticals. This is something I'd love to talk about too, but the hypotheticals where it doesn't work out. Because somebody can listen to all of this and they can find 6, 10, 30 reasons where it's not true, or it's inaccurate, or it's not the right definition of mindfulness, or I've studied this. You can do that. They all can do that. And my question is, why are you spending time telling me where you don't agree than emphasizing the areas that you do agree? And then if you feel that there's a little bit of a segment where you can tangent from that energy that connects with people to create, your own path to it, then that means we're all moving towards what the solution is.
Exactly.
But if you're combating this to tell or stuff down what your solution is. And the question is, who are you fighting for? What is it that you're fighting? Unless we're like sending you down a path and you're trying to save people. Like I'm like, mindfulness is, jumping off of a bridge, and I get that. But I'm saying, like, there's so many people that are out there to prove, or forgive me, disprove that they lose the whole magic.
Yeah.
Like if you're just like, I'm trying to disprove something, you don't even
debating, bro. That's what.
Seriously, I don't want to talk about that.
That's debating.
But it literally is just like you're missing out the magic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why I said you call it mindfulness, you call it observation, you call it whatever you will. I don't give a rat's about the coin, how you coin the term. Just for your own good, figure out how you can use it to your benefit.
That's what it comes down to.
That's it. And it'll help you no matter what. Being aware helps you. Like, how could it not help you?
Yeah.
Half the arguments that our country, they're not mindful. They're like, you look like this, therefore you're that.
Yeah.
Who'd you vote for? Therefore you're that.
Oh,
and you completely put it all over. You never question that underneath it, they have love for their kin, just as you have love. You don't find the lowest common denominator between all of us. We all share values. There's certain things, we all connect to some degree. But it's the desire to other somebody. Because when you other somebody, you don't have to deal with yourself. Exactly.
Create yourself
What
up.
does that mean when you...
Others, like, you're the other.
Oh.
You're not in my tribe. What do you believe? Other.
Yeah.
And then all I got to do is just throw hate on you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because the more hate I throw on you, the more love I throw on myself. The more wrong I throw on you, the more right I get.
It's the pushing down.
Exactly. That's 100%.
That's ego. That's ego right there.
Yeah.
So even if there are things that you disagree with, what if you try to find the areas that you do agree with? And that's scary for people because they got to face things. And if they face that their enemy could also be their friend, then their identity is affected.
Yes.
And they could be
Wrong.
And that's what we all are afraid of. We don't care about what's right, what's just. We don't want to be wrong.
That's what sounds right.
I think what sounds right that doesn't require too much action.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to do good until good's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you have mindfulness, when you go through all of that, you also better your relationships. You better your relationship with your dad and mom. You better your relationship with everybody. And you said something that was really cool was everything is my fault.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really want to tie that to mindfulness, but I don't know how.
Go.
I just don't know how.
My fault?
Yeah, everything is my fault is being mindful.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It forces you to be mindful.
Yeah.
Because I asked the question, how is this my fault?
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now, I have to be wise with that phrase because somebody can take it and say it's my fault, which puts them into the ego of identity and I did it wrong. But I'm saying everything is within my control.
Yeah.
That's what I'm really trying to say. Because I have control over my perspective. Therefore, all things are in my control.
Yes.
So I say the fault because it has more of an effect. People are like, dang. You know what I mean? But if I say everything's my fault, then I ask the question in that situation, I'm like, where did I go wrong? Where could I have gone wrong?
Yeah.
And by me asking that question, that means that I'm aware that even in the process of this conversation, debate, argument, whatever, I could have gone wrong. So retrospectively, I'm starting to ask myself, like, what did I do? I talked about this. I admitted that. I was clear on that. And I'm like, I didn't give her this statement. She did do that, and I should have mentioned that. So I go back and I go tell her.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to get this out of my system. I'm not here. That's why people get so surprised when I'm wrong. I'm like, my bad. I was wrong. But I'm not, because it's not a battle of my ego.
Yeah.
It's a battle for knowledge. It's a battle for wisdom. And so if I'm wrong and you prove me wrong, you only proved an idea wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not wrong. So I've been able to separate the idea from myself. Right? But if somebody says something and they think I'm wrong and I know that I'm right in my spirit, it's two choices. One, I'll try my best to explain it to you.
Yeah.
Make peace. Or we don't need to vibe, bro. Like, good on you. Do you, I'll do me. Right? Unless it's injustice, then I gotta get in. You know, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go freaking Batman on this thing. So there's different. It's so complex, but I'm just trying to simplify it as best as possible. But to see that everything is your fault puts you in a place where you're always questioning. Not in a way you're questioning your identity. You're questioning whether you took the best steps.
Your habits.
Yeah, did I take the best steps?
Yeah.
And most of every conversation, there's something wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm like, oh shoot, I did it again.
Here we go again.
Yeah, it's just like, no,
Yeah.
I'm conscious. And even in conversations, I become more conscious. It's like you're retroactively conscious, and as time goes by, each time that you're retroactively to the point where you're almost at the place where you're conscious during it.
That's so dope.
And when you're conscious during it, it's like crazy because
That's it.
time slows down.
Yep.
You feel angry, like I know what that is.
Boom.
But then it goes to the point where your consciousness comes before the conversation.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Where you have an intention before you get into the conversation. And if I set an intention, if I want you to walk away convicted and loved, then it's that energy's already in there. But then it becomes my state. I want people to walk away feeling love, feeling awareness, feeling heard, but at the same time hearing me. It's already in my energy. So when I'm talking to you, I'm like Bob and it's flow. It's not even really mindfulness
It's your
anymore.
intention.
Yeah. And I think that's I think going back to the beginning where we took this, I was saying the difference between mindfulness and flow. Flow is no longer mindful, in my opinion. Flow is presence. Mindful is aware of the present. Flow is you're in it. You're part of the scenery. It's that awe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think that might be it. It's the space where there is only what is. Mindful is the observation
Correct.
of what
What
is.
is. But the flow is you're already in it.
And both are beautiful.
Yeah, both are beautiful. Exactly.
And both can't be held forever.
Yeah.
Because we have to go ignorant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we have to sometimes just live in the freaking world. You know what I mean? So I'm not constantly chasing that space.
That'd be dope though.
I mean, would it though? Would it? I mean, it's just like being on heroin all the time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you're dope. You need higher levels
Yeah,
of it. It's
yeah,
just,
yeah.
then you're chasing that feeling
Yeah,
again.
chasing
And
the
if you're
feeling.
chasing a feeling, then it's not true mindfulness. It's not true flow. It's high.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference between a high and flow and mindfulness. Because it's not about chasing the feeling. It's about being aware of the feeling, acknowledging this feeling, calmly accepting the feeling. The fluctuation.
Fluctuation.
Right?
I was about to say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you're not chasing a life that is not life.
It's living. That's what living. Because if
Right.
you're in that flow,
Yeah.
you know, if you're always in that flow,
Yeah.
like you said, you're going to be chasing the high. You have to be in those points of fluctuation where you go into these dips and that constant paradigm shift. That's what Let's Talk About Life's about.
Right.
It's about these shifts. Like we'll have points where,
Yeah.
oh, the suck days, but the empowerment days.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that fluctuation and the discovery in that. It's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, when I was today, it was like a cloudy day and it was cold, and I've been doing a lot of meetings, and there's been a lot of stuff that's been going on, and I feel kind of neutral.
Yeah.
I'm just like, because there's some stuff I'm just like, you know what I mean? And I walked outside and it was cold in the clouds, but I saw the trees and I'm like, and I let go of these are the trees on Beach Boulevard that I always see.
Yeah.
I was just like, ugh, and I took it in, and it was funny because I saw that I was holding it. I was holding it from not being what I already know it to be. So I was just looking at it, and I was like, whoa, it was incredible. But it wasn't so incredible that I got high. It was just incredible to be like, different sight, different vision, different perspective.
So weird.
And then I reached for my car and I looked at my hands and I'm like, dude, there's ligaments and all this mess that's holding it to open the door. Stupid thoughts that all of us had thought, and I didn't go like into a space of awe with it. I was just like, different. And I got in my car and drove off. You know what I mean? But it's like these little things, I know it was good. You know what I mean? I know it was good. And it put me in a space where I was at least separate from the moment. That's why they say exercises is so incredible. Like the mindfulness can be also defined by exercise, meditation to a certain extent. Because we're constantly thinking a certain way, right? But when you exercise and you're in a kind of space of exertion, it's hard to focus on your fear. You know what I mean? You're just trying to get through the workout. You got to focus. And so it separates you from your constant flow of thought. So that's a presence to a certain extent. And then on top of it, it shoots up your dopamine levels, it reduces your cortisol levels, your oxytocin goes up, and you feel physically good. And that all kind of comes in play with meditating as much as working out. Another thing that I'd say for people like Headspace or the Calm app is a great way to start into mindfulness. I think they do a great job of explaining, the process of meditation and how to listen to your breath, or go on YouTube. Anything that's just different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That gets you to just start to notice your surroundings, your inner self, your breath, whatever it is, are great avenues.
Yeah.
I feel like you tied into looking at the tree.
Uh-huh.
I had the same experience today when I was looking at my computer watching a video.
Really?
I was watching a lecture, and I looked at the computer, and as the guy was talking, all of a sudden, I'm like looking at this computer, I'm like, this is a laptop? and I'm watching a guy in a video.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
What is it? And I look at my hands. I'm like, I'm living here in this universe, and the stars, and blah blah blah. It just comes right out. I'm like,
Yeah.
you completely come out.
Dude. And then you're like, I gotta put these mushrooms away.
Yeah.
I hear you, man.
And then you're like, wait, what? And like you're back again. You're like, whoa, what is that? What? It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's when you meditate or when you work out, like tying into what you said, it's not like getting rid of thoughts, because I don't think you can get rid of thoughts. It's just noticing that you're thinking, and then bringing it back to the state of just being. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think, like, for example, like, you can't get rid of thoughts.
Yeah.
You
Right.
Watch them.
What's that?
You have to watch them.
Yeah. Okay. So, the angle that I'm going is, if I say, don't think of a phone, you're like, how can you don't phone? You can't negative a phone. You can't take away a thought,
Yeah.
right? But what you can do is you can change your focus,
Yeah.
right? How do you get rid of something? You go to something else. And that type of, literally that thinking is a microcosm of our society and our world, is we're spending more time trying to get rid of something, get rid of poverty, not go to hell. You know what I mean? We're trying to negate, negative, take away, minus the things that are painful, rather than look towards the things that are positive, hopeful, helpful, right?
That's so awesome.
I don't want to feel this way. And so we're constantly focusing on the feeling of this
Feeling
way.
of it.
What do you want to feel like? Salutogenesis. What is the solution? What was the last time? What was your last breakthrough? What was your last breakthrough moment? Oh, I did this, I did that, I did this. How do you feel right now? I feel amazing. I'm like, you just thought about it. All you have to do is think about it to feel it. The same mechanism goes towards when you're thinking about, why did she say she didn't like my shirt? You know what I mean? We ruminate, we meditate, it becomes what that thing is. So if we can stop trying to get rid of things, stop feeling this way, stop if we can start focusing on things that matter, to start exercising, to start thinking about the things that we love, to start writing gratitude lists, to start building a relationship, then all of a sudden you have a whole new angle, and you have the flow of your focus.
That's so
Because
cool.
wherever you focus, you flow.
That's so cool, man. That's so true, because people always say, I always have this conversation when it comes to working out with people. I can't work out, I'm too fat. Or, I can't work out because I don't have time. I can't work out because this and that. I'm like, what if, I never heard someone say, I'm going to start doing this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to start. I can't, I don't have time. The negative just pops up like an instantaneous habit. Like the mindfulness is not there. It's like, I'm not going to start. I'm just auto response.
Yeah. Immediately think of something that's negative so you don't have to do it.
Damn, dude. So I love how you said that, Briquet. You literally flip the switch. You focus on, I'm going to start exercising today. I'm going to start reading books today. I'm going to start meditating today. I'm going to start right now.
Yeah.
That's just so much more empowering to think about that. Like, I'm going to start. And you write, I'm going to start writing today in my journal. Rather than, I'll think about it, or, I just can't do that. It's so interesting how human beings, we think like that.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating.
And it's also, too, like, let's go back to the conversation with the argument that you had with your father, right? Your first thought was, I'm going to stop yelling, right? The positive version of that is, I want to create peace. You see what I'm saying? It's just a shift in perspective.
Salutogenesis.
Yeah, so you're like, it's not that I'm not going to yell at my father, but that's level 1. Huge. Kudos. Success. It is success. Then the next level is, I want peace. You know what I mean? And level 2 would be, I want peace for me. And then level 3 is, I want peace for him or us. You see what I'm saying? And so you're giving an example to him of what it is. So by understanding what you want more than what you don't want is powerful. And there's times when I can literally contradict myself, because there's certain places where knowing what you don't want is very important, especially when you're trying to build something. But when you're trying to get rid of problems in your life, you can talk about them, but then you must talk about what you want. And if you can't go into thinking about what you want, then talk about what life would be like if those problems were gone. And then focus on what life would be like more than just the problem. Right?
That's awesome.
Like, I wish I would work out more.
Yeah.
I wish I would have did it. Okay, what if you did work out more? I'd feel incredible. I feel so healthy. Walking up the stairs would be the easiest thing in the world. I'd love putting on my clothes. I'd be able to play with my kids, my grandkids, all this, and you start thinking, you build this massive vision for what you create versus, I wish I'd work out more.
Why do people not start? What are they scared of? Is it fear?
Absolutely, man. I mean, I want you right now to take that question and put it into something that you're not starting right now that you know you need to start.
Excuse fear.
Okay, so, you know what I mean?
I'm thinking about
It's so easy, it's so easy for us to be like, I do it all the time. But the truth is,
no.
that's their avenue.
Yeah.
You could pick up that fear and place it in your own life and be like, okay, that's
So
exactly
true.
why.
Yeah.
Like, why do people that are big still eat? You're like, dude, look at yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do you have to gossip about people all the time?
Yeah.
What does it give you? The same thing it gives them to some extent. Relief, release. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unhealthy, but whatever. That's why I get mad when I see somebody who's like, like has a sexual addiction versus somebody who has a food addiction. The person with the food addiction is overweight, and you're like, oh, the other one is hidden. You know what I mean? And so they get away with their deceits. They get away with their darkness.
Scarier.
You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, we all have our vice.
Yeah, that's true.
So for me, it's very easy for me, or more easy for me not to judge, because when I see somebody that can't do or jump over something, I'm like, I got the same thing in my life somewhere.
Damn, that's scary, bro. It's so funny how you relate that back to me. Because I was thinking of exercising. I was like, exercising, bro.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about, like, you put it somewhere in your life, I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah, that was me. What I just did with Batman just now. Because if you saw the quickness at which I jumped on it's because it was an injustice. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to get you on that. I'm going to get you on that one, man.
He did, for sure. I was like, no, you got me.
It's like one shot, one kill, man. I was like, nah.
Hey, nah.
I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be judged,
Yeah.
and I've seen other people judged to an unfair degree. They get more than they should. You know what I mean? Certain people in our society get more than they deserve, and so you gotta. My thing is like, okay, that's not just. So let's pow.